Hello there, and welcome to each and every one of you to this little channel of mine, my arty channel. I'm Angela Porter, and you're all most welcome here. And I trust that you are all doing just fine and dandy, or at least as good enough for where you are at this time in life. Let me just say that. And yeah, so it's Saturday late afternoon. The sun has just about sunk beneath the hills that form the valleys around me here. So we're heading towards dusk and twilight and that lovely, I love sunrises, sunsets, what can I say? But I've been in a meeting all day, so this is, and it started early-ish, so here I am going to do a video because I need to switch my mind from one thing or another. Now this is what I was doing in my last video. It's the infinity card, which I'm going to use as a store or a display or idea generator, I don't know yet, for tangle patterns, motifs and things like that. So the first one I did that yesterday, and in the previous video, which I will link in the description box below, I show briefly how to make this, and I put a link to, I've forgotten the name of the blog. Oh, not the vlog. Oh, geez. God, I am so, I do apologise. I can be so dense at times. I did look it up and I've just completely forgotten. But there, where you can see a video of how it's made, and there's a template there for the measurements that you need. It looks terribly complicated, but when you get down to it, it's really not. But I know, sometimes it's a bit, confusing and overwhelming, but honestly, I really do think that you can all do this, absolutely. Playing with paper and glue, that was the name of the channel, playing with paper and glue, but again, I'll put a link to that in the box below, the description box, so that you can go and have a look at that as well. So, infinity cards, there's two places here so we can actually open it and we get more faces to put patterns. Open it this way and there's yet more, and then open it this way and there's yet more, and then we can open it and go back to where we started. And I think it's just fun. So I'm going to do another one for here, this one, but like yesterday I surprised people. I surprised the blog. It's just gone out of my head. I'm so sorry. I'm too long at a meeting, not enough tea probably, by putting a little pocket here. So today's surprise is I'm going to put a card here because that means more patterns. And I'm all about interactive things. I do enjoy a bit of interactiveness. Now this will annoy me if it's staying open like that. So I'm just getting some, this is masking tape. It's low tack. It's Frog Tape actually is the brand. And it's for delicate surfaces. But I'm just taking some of the tack off on my skin, so that there's less chance it'll damage my paper here, but it will keep it just closed while I draw on the front of it, which is what I'm going to do today. So this piece of paper, like this one, is it's not 2 3/4, it's 5.5 inches wide and 2 3/4 tall, and all I've done is score it at 2 3/4 inches, folded it in half essentially, and then I'm just using a piece of tape there to keep it closed. And I was looking at this, see, while I was at the meeting, during the last part of the meeting, and I was beginning to find myself nodding off. Not that it wasn't interesting, but because I was just nodding off, I started drawing. And these swirly patterns are one of my things. So that's what I want to do today. But like with the other one, I do want to put, like with all my work really, I just want to put some pencil lines here, just to give me that border, that edge, a place for me to try to stay within. You know it's not going to happen, but we can hope, can't we? So let me start with a little bouquet of flowers here. So I'm going to do these very simple stylized dairies. They're not dairies, they're daisies. So 2 concentric circles, a pair of them. Then I'm just going to put rounded petals, and inside each of these, right at the base, I'm just going to put a little narrow, tall arch shape that I'm just filling in with black. I like to use that density of black just suggests that centre rises above the petals. I'm also going to put some line weighting and fill the little gaps in between just a bit with some ink, just to help to bring out a sense of volume or structure in the petals. Like so, which is fabulous. And I think I'll pop 2 more here, so I'm going to have one over here, which I will draw in exactly the same kind of way. They will overlap, but if there's a small gap, I'm just going to fill it in with black. Don't need to, it's fine. It worked nicely. Oops. That's what I forgot to do here, wasn't it? With these, I do like to swap where the black line is. You can do it whichever way you like, but I like to give that illusion that there's a ring here above the petals. So the pen I'm using is a Uni Emot. They're described as ever fine. They've got a tough plastic nib. The ink is waterproof, well, water resistant. I'm not going to say it's waterproof because no doubt if you scrubbed around it would move. But and it's also not mucked once it's dry, and I mean very dry because it is a pigment ink. Alcohol markers won't affect it. So, and of course you can use coloured pencils or many other media with it. So I just think it's just fab. And I needed a change from the Copics. I was getting a bit fed up of them. You may notice this about me because I do get bored with the feeling of a pen in my hand, or perhaps complacent. And every now and again I do like to change what I write or draw with, just for that different kind of feeling. These are very light and they've got a triangular square barrel. It's got 4 sides. So it feels a bit different to the solid aluminium bodied, heavy bodied Copics that I've been using, Copic multiliners. The SP ones that you can refill and replace the nibs on. So reducing waste, because that is important to me. I'm not perfect, but I do my best. And I think if we all did our best collectively, we'd make a big difference. So I've got a little, okay, let's do a whole line of them through the middle here. Simply because I can, and because I just feel it'll give me a nice place to launch my wobbly lines from, and my flowy lines. I do love daisies. Daisy is a word that comes from the Old English, Anglo-Saxon, des aiger, which means day's eye, because they look like little suns and they open with sunlight and close when the light gets a bit too dim. So they are like their own little, sun sun reflectors. And like you, they always remind me of times of innocence, of childhood, of fun, and they make me smile when I see them, especially in the winter on one of those odd days where it's cold but really bright. And sometimes that bright sunshine and the warmth on the ground just encourages some brave daisies to suddenly pop up and bloom. And we have had some mild winters here in the UK of late, or mild periods during the winters. And it's not unusual to see swathes of daisies, sort of like in late December, early February. But I remember one February, I went with my friend Liz on one of our infamous cake runs. We went to Wells, which is a cathedral city not far from Bath, in Somerset. And the cathedral I love, absolutely do. But we stopped on the way, we stopped at a stone circle at Stanton Drew, which is to the southish of Bristol. And it's one of my favourite ones. In fact, the diameter of the circle was much bigger than Stonehenge, which is the one that's much more well known. But that henge was made from wooden poles that were stuck into the ground, and of course they've rotted over time, but the post holes remained and they were discovered by archaeologists. And it's a farmer's field now, and so you visit there and you have to go through a gate. There's an honesty box on the gate for admissions or to pay for little leaflets that might be there telling you about the place, or as a donation to English Heritage. You manage the stone circle and you share the field with cows, sheep, who just look at you and go, oh, another one of you lot, carry on. And I've spent some lovely, beautifully quiet time there. I've visited it a number of times over the years. So we stopped there. Liz had second breakfast somewhere, and then we went on to, found ourselves in Wells. And I actually got really badly sunburnt in February in the UK. It was really worrying. Well, you know, that was the first sign that, well, not the first, but my skin's always been sensitive to sunlight, but never that bad. It was, yeah, it was. So, story time. How did I get? Oh, daisies. Wander down from daisies and innocence and getting sunburnt in the middle of winter. There, so there's my string of daisy style flowers. One more thing I just want to do. I'm just going to put some dots of black from about 9 o'clock around to, well, 5 o'clock-ish on here. So daisies, day's eye, isn't that wonderful? Because I can't remember how to pronounce the Anglo-Saxon for it, but it's fine. Okay, so I want to do some of these flowy lines. So I'm going to start from one of these, and I'm just going to take my line to the corner. Just put a nice line with a bit of a curve in, and then I'm going to repeat this a couple of times to give me a clear kind of almost river here, which I really do like. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of retrace this line a bit, and then I'm going to start the line going a bit further away. So if I zoom in a bit, you'll be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm retracing the line and going along a bit, tracing the line and just letting it spread out as it will, until I feel I've got a nice enough curve here. So I'm beginning to start, that one gave me a gap there, so I feel I'm ready to start to add perhaps a line from here, like so. And I also feel that if I do a couple of these, because there is no right or wrong way about this, it's just trusting the process of drawing the lines and how they spread and create different shapes. You just do what you need to do to get things occurring. So this one here is almost doubling back on itself, so perhaps I will start to make that happen with a kind of teardrop shape. And I'm going to add some lines inside that and then fill that last section in with black. This needs to be just that little bit rounder. Then what I did here was this line here, I've looped around and taken it back that way, so we're getting that kind of aura ring going on. And I think that I may just perhaps aura it once more, just to, perhaps a third time, just to define this shape here. But then I've got perhaps another time. But I'm beginning to get this lovely shape in the middle here, and I think I may start to alter how I do this. So like this. So I'm going to fill this in with some auras, and that last one I'm just going to fill in with black for the drama, the graphic black and white nature of these lines, which I love. And I just love the way that space seems to twist and curl here. And of course that doesn't stop me from adding other twists and curls. So I'm going to do one here that's like this. I'm not sure it works this way, but as soon as I start to put an aura in, if I use Zentangle parlance, suddenly it all seems to work. And I think that's one of my favourite phrases, is aura is your friend. It always is. Well, as far as I'm concerned. So, let's have a look. I need to do something around the end here, and I think what I might do is just start to bend these lines or curve them down. Just give everything that little bit of a this kind of treatment. I think that one would go up. That one would definitely spin round. These ones would go off somewhere. Perhaps like that, and I'll just fill these bits in with black. So I think that would just work quite nicely. Okay, let's finish this little bit off, and I've got this space here. I will come back and fill. Will I? So I am just going to fill this little section in here. But I think I might actually leave this section as it is. Let's start to fill these lines in here just to neaten up the edge of this. So, and I'm going to do the same here. And then I want to do something with this gap here. I think I may just Do another aura there. Oops. Then I'm going to come back here, and I think this is where I'm going to have my lines here appearing as if they're coming from underneath this particular line here. And I'll get to a point and I'll go, right, that's it. I think it's here because I drew the line wrong, because I wasn't thinking about what I was doing. Because that's me at times. There we go. So that's one side, and that's all that very flowy kind of pattern, which is something I love to use and I really enjoy creating. Here I'm just going to fill in some little gaps with lines and black. And actually I think this one here could have an area of black within it, because I think that would act in quite a dramatic way there. And I'm also thinking that I could quite happily add some alternating black stripes here, because I think that again adds that kind of dramatic flourish here. Nowhere else, because these will just connect there. Just think that just adds that extra bit of weight on that side and some helps with the flow of the lines and of the pattern I've created. What I think of with these shapes here is the Zentangle pattern Diva Dance. And I do love a bit of Diva Dance. But I'm going to do mine. And I'm going to use my flowers here to get my wobbly lines, so I can draw that there as if I'm creating a separation between this and the Diva Dance. Now I have a choice to make. I can either start Diva Dance here or I can put another line in. I think I'm going to start my Diva Dance here. So I'm just filling in sections with ink, just to try and smooth this line out. I didn't do a very good job there, did I? We'll do it that way. It'll be fine. And then here. And here. Some there, and let's have a little bobbly bit there. So there are places where I might want to just widen or smooth some of these out. And then the next thing to do with Diva Dance, and I do need some lumps and bumps sticking up. Can't just have everything all straight. It's going around. This is how I do this anyway, and auraing the line, and then I'm going to go back and add some black in to places. Some places I'm just going to fill the hollows in, and others I'm going to add little lumpy bumps up, especially where it starts to get a little bit on the flat side, just to change the shape a bit. And this is something I suppose you could control it and work out exactly how you're going to create this, but I much prefer to see what happens. I try not to overthink this, though sadly I sometimes do. And I find that when I overthink things, that's when things just go wrong. So I've got all of that there, so I'm going to pop another line in here, and that's beginning to give us a beautiful, beautiful texture. Reminds me a bit, I think, of moire silk in some ways. Or, oh, what is it? Pattern welded steel. There's a name for the patterns on it. Do you think I can remember what it is? Again, I know it's seen in Japanese knives and so on. Wait, it's got a name. Is it Mokugami? Something like that, I think. But it was also seen in, well, it was probably before the Anglo-Saxons, but that's the first time I remember seeing it. Absolutely beautiful. As you fold the iron bar over again and again and again, heat it up, fold it, hit it, weld it together just by the heat of it. And scales come off, you knock the carbon out of it, I think, and so you end up with low carbon iron or steel, sort of. And you get the most beautiful, beautiful patterns appearing. So I'm beginning to get some interesting shapes or pattern there, but I'm going to add some unexpected things. I'm going to put some little kind of beads in here with a little hump. So I don't know if you saw how I did that. I drew the bead on like so, and then I traced that line, went over the top of this and went back down to the line and just filled the ends in. So instead of putting just a lump of ink, say a lump of ink, but a section filled with ink, I'm now introducing something a little bit different. Like the Princess and the Peas. So let's add another one here. So these shapes just hug the seed that we're putting in, or the pearl. Of course, you can use any shape for this. It doesn't have to be circular. You could put a triangle sticking up, or a heart poking out. But you still want to hug these down. So if I do a heart, so it looks like I've got a heart sticking out there. So let me just go up and over. And then I'm going to fill that little back bit in with black, and the two on the side as well. So like so. And I think I can, should I put another little heart in here? I think so. So cute. I do like hearts. I also like stars and moons. And skulls. No skulls though, Halloween's gone. Oh, I need to do some Christmas party hat skulls perhaps. Yep, I would actually do that for a Christmas card design. Drunken party skulls at Christmas. Or any other holiday actually. Or celebration, yeah. Because I rather like skulls and skeletons. It's the scientist in me, you know that. Well, unless you've not encountered me before, then you won't know that I am a scientist. And I do love skeletons and microscopic images and so on. So this is giving quite a different feel to this. So I'm going to go back to just the ordinary Diva dance here. So I've got a band of interest across the middle. And then I'm just going to fill this end bit in. This is a pattern I love to use on shells. I don't know why. Perhaps it's because it reminds me of the sea, or waves on a sea. And could leave these open for that feeling as well, I suppose. But it goes so well on spiral shells. It's just something lovely about how the pattern just fills parts of it in. So that might be another one I do, which is a bit of a swizz because, you know, I've already done Diva Dance, but the shell I haven't done. Just put 2 blank lines in there, another one of these, because we're getting to the point where I'm running out of space and corners and so on. Again, I'm just going to join the edges up, and on this side I'm going to check that everything is fine and dandy along here. And so we've got 2 patterns that in my head are related. They're not entirely, but we've got these flowy kinds of patterns that are going on here. Now I do want to leave that dry for a moment, but I also know I need my eraser. There it be. Just get that. I don't leave pencil lines on my work. I know. It's part of the Zentangle thing that you don't use erasers and so on, but I'm not doing Zentangle, I'm doing Angela. Okie dokes. I don't want to use alcohol markers because alcohol markers do go through the paper. They don't bleed through onto the lower piece unless you're getting really super saturated with them. And because I want to be able to open this, having said that, I can always mount something in there. I always do that. So let's have a look. Just get my markers out. Oh, and thank you to the lovely person who told me that who do make markers that have got both that have a bullet tip and a brush tip on them. Who would have thought that? Not me. And I am going to use the grey greens that I like, if I can find them. So I've got grey green 2. Oh, let me have a look on the sheet. This is why they give us the sheets, isn't it? So grey green 1, GG1, GG3. That's a bit darker than that one. It's a bit more grey. But that, I think grey green 06, I think I'll need. There we are, got it. And the colourless blender. Fabulous. Put those out the way. Just uncap them, because I can then make use of them. The nice thing about these is they've got these little stops on as well, so they don't run away from me much on the table. They have their moments because, you know, I throw them away from me, but, you know, a bit hard. Not literally throw them away from me, but, you know what I'm on about. Okay, so I'm going to use the same colours for everything here, for the flowers and so on, to put shadows on. So I'm going to do some of it to give you the idea of how I'd approach adding shadows and highlights here. So I am just putting the lightest colour at the moment just on the inside and top and right and sort of bottom and left, although I probably will put that shadow all the way round. I'll use the slightly darker colour next, and I can see that I've got the light colour in there, and I am going to use just a little bit of the darkest colour around part of that arc, and then I'm just going to use my lightest colour just to, oh, that's not the lightest, is it? Yes, it is. Didn't look like it was. Just going to add that to add my shadow. The other thing I do want to do is I do want to add some shadow to this ring, so I'm going to do to the bottom and the left, on the outside and in the inside, around the top and to the right, just inside. So it gives that feeling that this is sort of like rounded. So I'll do these again. So I'm just going to put some light around there, then a bit of the medium, The light colour is great because it will moisten the paper, which means that these other colours will just spread in the paper. But these markers are really juicy anyway, which is fabulousness. Yeah, there's the lightest one. So I keep second guessing myself. And then I'm just going to put some of the light around the outside, the bottom and the left, and then the inside circle to the top and the right on the outside. And it just works. To my mind it does anyway, and really, that's all that really matters. So here's the medium shade. Then I'm going to add the darkest shade, just so I want the shadows the darkest. Come back with that middle shade, especially here, because I really missed. But at the end of the day, it'll all be fine. Just going to add the lightest colour there, a little bit along the left and the bottom, and around the top and the outside. So I could actually do that first, really, couldn't I? And then need to remember where there's some overlap that I put in the shadows, where these petals overlap that little bit as well. You don't want to forget about overlap shadows. Well, you can if you want to, but yeah. I'm just going to put in some of the medium shade here as well, where they overlap, just to make sure there's just some shadow. And just a hint of the dark there and inside there. And then I'm just going to use the lightest pen again, just to add some more alcohol marker to the paper, so everything kind of spreads out. Kinda. Okay, we're going to have shadows here, as well as around here, a little bit on that side, but not much. This is the darkest, so I only want a little bit. I do want some under there though, just lift those up. And I'm just going to come with the medium tone. I'm just checking, yeah, this is the medium tone, it just looks so dark. And then back with the lightest tone so that we can just let this get bleached out, and these can then blend nicely. So there's my flowers with some dimension. Now then, with these I'm going to be looking for where the lines get close together, or like here they overlap. So here I've got them overlapping down here, so I'm going to put quite a bit of the darkest colour in. That was the medium colour, but I really want to get the darkest colour there, and just a bit there, so that we get this overlapping happening. And I'm just going to blend these out a bit. I missed there, but that's okay, because corrections are possible. Everything is can be corrected. So I don't quite know what I'm going to do next. So around here, where there's an overlap, I'm definitely putting in some of the darkest colour, like so. And I'll just go down to this one here. Then I'm going to use the medium colour, and I'm flicking my medium colour out. By flicking it, the pen moves quicker along the paper towards the end of my stroke, and it means that I'm not putting as much of the alcohol ink down. And the majority of it is where I want that shadow to be. So we've got this going on here. Now this is a bit of a pain there, but let's see what I can do. Colourless marker or colourless blender. It doesn't blend, it more like bleaches, but you know, it does what it does. So here I've got some areas here where the lines are practically going underneath there, so I'm going to add that shadow in, just extend it that way a little bit. And again I'm going to just flick these, as that's beginning to bend away from me. So again, it's thinking about where the bending is, where the high spots are on these. I think I've got mine mostly where I'd like them. I am adding some colourless marker to the end of these just to help the edge of the lightest colour just fade out. That's okay. All right, so where am I going to have my next lot of dark? Let's try getting the dark one, this one. So under here there'll be some dark, around here there'll definitely be dark. Quite a bit actually as it bends and curves. So let's deal with these first. So I do want to bring this colour out just a little bit. Here. And around the edge there, because we've got overlapping going on there. And I am just going to use the lightest colour, and I need to put the darkest colour under there as well, because that would actually be in shadow there. I'm not going to worry about the rest there for a moment, it will work its way out. And again, if I need to add, say this often, if I need to add shadow highlights, that's what white gel pens were invented for. I've come to the decision. In my world anyway. So here I'm just adding the shadows there, and I have used quite a lot of the darker colour. So I'm going back. This is actually the lightest colour, but I think it's going to blend that darker colour out and bleach it a bit, which is good. I've got some going there. I think I could do with a bit more going that way, just so I get more of that bending going on. I might just use some of this medium shade here just to get this colour a little bit darker perhaps. And again down here just some more of the darkest shades, which will blend out with the alcohol ink that's there. So that's looking cool, literally. Okay, here I've got quite a lot of these lines that are close together here, where there's kind of almost like an area where it's beginning to split, isn't it? So I'm going to put some darkness there. Missed completely there, but we'll work that one now in a moment. Got that black there. I'm going to put some light there. Some light and light, and then this is where I want my alcohol, the colours blender to come in, just to bleach all of this out and where I've missed. And I'm also going to use the darkest colour right at the edges here, because I want it to feel that this is disappearing under the edge of this particular, the edge of this drawing here. Then I'm just going to have the lightest colour and the colours blender. So that helps a bit there. Okay, just one little bit left down here. So you can see where there's lots of lines here, and I'm going to take that around because they all are shadowed under here. I'm going to shadow around my flower. In fact, I'm going to do that all the way round, like so. Then I've got the medium. Like so. have some medium coming around here as well. Then I can do the lightest colour and tone. I'm putting that over the dark, or the medium and the darkest a bit, just to bleach it out that little bit. Then I've got my colourless blender here, which I'll bring in. Two purposes. One is any overspill, it'll push it away, and if anywhere's a bit too dark, it'll lighten it up. So there is my crazy kind of pattern there. I've just got the Diva dance to do now. This is always interesting. I don't think I've quite cracked how I like to have this, but let's have a look. So I think I'm going to take the approach of looking where the lines sort of bunch up, possibly. Actually, I think I'm going to do it really simply. I'm going to put shadows along here as if this is underneath. And I'm not going to fuss around with where shadows are. I haven't got enough, don't feel I've got enough definition or curviness or variation in spaces between lines here to be able to work with that. But what I am doing is I'm building up a gradient shadow here. So I've gone from dark to light, with medium in between. And as that dries, that should give me a nice base. And I am just going to go over these with the colourless marker, just a bit. And then just here, because I've missed a bit. And I tell you what I do want to do. Is that the darkest? It is. I'm actually going to put the darkest colour around these here. So it's just going to take me a wee while to do this carefully. Don't need to worry so much about the Diva dance because that is just fine as it is. But I just think this really darker colour here will work really nicely. Hope the flowers, that feels a lot better actually, that does. It just helps those flowers to stand up against the background. And actually what I may do, as I'm putting these away, is to go and find the CG5, which is there. That's cool grey. GG5. Which is slightly darker, and I'm going to use that in this space I've just filled in. It's not black, but it's darker than that one. I don't want to fill these in with black. I just want something so it feels that we've got something in shadow here. To finish that. I do love these green greys. I have to say I do love these green greys. Right, that's all of my marker work. That's all I'm going to do. So I'm going to pop my markers away because if I leave them out I'm likely to knock them and I'll end up with markers everywhere, which is never a happy accident because it takes me ages to find them all because they have a habit of running away and hiding from me. You know that? Markers hide from me. So I'm now going through, there we go. I have some. This is fab. White gel pen, which I'll get started and clear the point off on my black lace there. So this is my happy little drawing today, and I'm just going to add little white dots just to bring out or to add some highlights, even on these black spaces. Not all of them, and not all of these spaces where there's highlights. Saying that, once I start, I find it hard to stop. But it is a nice way of creating kind of texture. And of course the gel pen is that little bit whiter perhaps than the paper, so it does stand out slightly. So here's where my highlights are for this one. And around here. And here. And there. And down here. And over here as well. So that's nice. And here, the ends. This one I'm putting white dots on white paper, but I'm putting some white dots actually in the centre, some of which will overlap where I've put the shadows, so that'll work nicely. Now, do I want to put, I feel I need to put some white dots in some of these black spaces because those look a bit odd on their own, so I'm going to do some here. I'm just making these that little bit bigger as they go. Okay, I think I'm all right with that. These though, these little black lumpy bumps, bumpy lumps, whichever way you prefer to say it. I'm sure somebody's going to tell me I call them this, which is fantastic. If you do, please share. But I do just love to dot white inside them. As much as I love the graphic nature of the black, I still like to break that black up with these little dots of white, or I could have used a gold gel pen or something, which would have been nice and a little bit different. But there's just something so lovely about this. And so that is my offering for you for today. A couple of my favourite, well, 3 of my favourite patterns. I love drawing daisy-like flowers, and I have many variations on this. It just depends what I feel like drawing when I draw. This lovely kind of flowy, swirly pattern. And then I've got Diva Dance with some variations of what you pop inside Diva Dance. Tell you what I do need to do with that though. Just going to put some black dots inside my pearls and the hearts, just to give them a little bit of shadow without using, that's a bit better, without using any alcohol markers, because I think I'll keep them as they are. Though, having said that, let me go a furling somewhere here. Where have I put them? This is the problem now. Let me have a look. So I think I might get away with some very pale colours here. So let me have a look, because I've got these. I like the deep cream. Oh, no. Let me look. So I've got grey-green there. We don't want to use that one again. I think that pale hibiscus could be... begonia for the hearts. And I think that deep cream. Let me find the begonia first. There it is. So I quite like that for my hearts. And yeah, there'll be some of the grey-green will show through, but that's okay because they're in shadow, so we'll get a mix of the colour, but the colour will still stick out. So these are the pastel sets, so they're all very, very pale. And I'm trying to, I think the lemon chiffon would be nice for the pearls, I think. Actually, the shell white. As I go quiet, because I can't look up, there we go, as I can't look for numbers and names and things and talk at the same time. So this will dry much paler than it is, hopefully. Right, and then as I've put shadow on one side, I am going to pop some highlights on the other side because I've coloured these in, and I just think that would be most apt. There we go. So that is this one done. Done did. Let's have a look at the back, how much has come through. Not too much, but I am going to put some paper on there perhaps to create that card, so I could use something else in here. But it's going to go here. I've got to find a way to keep it closed. So perhaps that isn't the best idea, is it? Yeah, let's take a pair of scissors to it, which is probably not the best idea, but because me and scissors, we're not always the best of pals, you know. Oh, it's not too shabby. Oh God, I'm just making it worse. Angela, just get your paper trimmer, girl. God help. These are designed to cut edges nice and square, so which is, oh, that's the wonky one now. Which means I must probably have to take a little bit off the others, because it'll all look a bit odd otherwise, a bit skew with. And I'm not keen with skew with. This is what these are for. Ish. That one actually I left mostly as it was, so that's fine. Okay, and the last thing I want to do is I do want to add some colour around the edge. And for this, I am going to use, I have got a green grey here somewhere. I thought I did. I thought I saw one in the list. Oh no, it's just a pale one because they're all... Let's go for this cool grey around the edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the... no. Didn't cut that very well. It'll be fine. I'm just going to use the chisel tip of the marker just to colour in the edge of the paper, but also to let some colour go, oops, inside just a little bit, just to give that hint of a shadow. It's neater than using alcohol markers. Not alcohol markers, distress inks. Because distress inks are, yeah. Let me zoom out while I do this. Hands away. And then I'll find my glue, my gluey glue, and I'm going to work out, because it really doesn't matter which way round I put this on here. So I think I might pop it that way, just for a bit of variety. So I've got my glue here. Hopefully it's all damp. And then I'm just going to try and centralise this here. Ish. That's close enough, I think. Yeah. Well, it's going to have to be now because it's more or less stuck down. And so I've now got 2 of these done. So I've got the one from yesterday which has a pocket in it, the one from today which doesn't, which I was going to make into a card, but I didn't. But, you know, it doesn't matter if things change as you work on them. But I've now got those two. So I'm going to carry on working on this because it's lovely to do these little bits of art with lots of patterns and interesting motifs on, and to fit them in here. These ones are going to be interesting along the side because I'm going to have to work out how they go. So these fold over that way, then this way, then this way. Do they actually? They don't actually ever fold over in half, I don't think. No, they don't. So these will have the longer, thinner sections on them, which will be interesting. And then some of them will have, like here, we'll have ones. Actually, no, those can have longer, thinner ones on. Yeah, this one's here like this. Yeah, so on the side of these big ones, I've got long ones here, but short ones on either side. So, and it's the same with this, where we've got these here, and then this, and we're back to the beginning again. So it's going to be fun. We'll work it. It will work itself out. So all I'm going to do is say, what have I done wrong here? This isn't right. I've managed to, there we go. Managed to muck it up. Now I just had it back to front because, you know, it is what it is. So I'm going to say thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this one as well, and that you'll give making one of these infinity cards a go, because they are a lot of fun. And I just think once it's all filled with all of these patterns, it's going to look rather good. So look after yourselves. Keep warm if you're somewhere cool. Keep cool if you're somewhere hot. If you're at a comfortable temperature, hurrah. And I hope to see you again. Oh, find time to be creative. Take care for now. Bye. Hoyle. Ta-ra.